How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, I'm going to talk about an aspect of my life that I've made reference to it, things when I was remanded into custody and things like that, but I've never gone into full detail. And this video is about the time that I had to drop a statement to the police. Now, I'm going to go into a bit of the background and then the before, during, and the after. Now, when you hear that I've dropped a statement, people might be like, grass, but that's really not the case. And when you listen to the story, you will understand why. Now, obviously, it's a well-known fact I was involved with Dominic Noonan, and obviously was very loyal to Dominic and spent a lot of time around Dom, a hell of a lot of time over a few years, and got on very well with him, respected him. I had his back, he had my back. Goes down that way. Anyway, within this mixture of people that were in our group, there was a certain family from Stretford in Manchester. There was a father and a few of his kids, right? And they was part of the firm, and they was respected and trusted, and yeah. We was all close and tight. Little did I know that the father was two-faced, and he ends up getting nicked on a load of stolen caravans, right? Stolen caravans were being allegedly stolen from across Europe, being transported from like Rotterdam to Hull on the ferry, or coming from from Calais to Dover, taking receipt of them, these people, and they was being sold. Apparently, allegedly, they was being stolen across Europe, transferred to the UK, sold. Nothing to do with us personally, but this father and his sons allegedly were key people in that operation. They ended up getting arrested, and it was going through court and everything. Now, this father and his son decided that he didn't want to go to prison. And a way of him not going to prison was by colluding with Greater Manchester Police and saying, look, I'm involved with the Noonans. I will bring the Noonans, like not the full family of Noonans, but Dominic Noonan particularly, and the people that were around Dominic. I will give you information on these people. Now, I don't know how long he was doing it, but he was feeding information about Dominic, me, and the lads to the police. Now, Dominic Noonan was number one on Greater Manchester Police's shit list, right? It's a known fact. Surveillance operations. In a 6-month period, they spent £1 million surveilling us, particularly Dominic, and they didn't even get him with even a parking ticket. Surveillance crews were on us. I've had it as well, where I've been out with Dominic. Where I used to live, there was a tram. I got on the tram. Dominic had come from Crumpsall up on the tram. I get on the tram. We go to Bury, which is one of the ends of the lines. And as soon as we get on the tram, Dom goes, do you notice anything out of the ordinary? And I said, yeah, that man and woman over there. Coppers, undercover. So we've come off the tram. There's an escalator down and some steps up. So you can only get up via the steps or a lift. So we've gone up the steps. But we was only meeting somebody at the top of the stairs, and then we were turning around and coming back. So we've gone up the stairs. This male and female have walked past us, obviously having eyes on. We sorted what we had to sort. We turned around, we came back down the stairs. Surprise, surprise, the male and female were behind us on the platform. Anyway, that was that. So we was very aware and very conscious of police tactics. When you're involved in criminality, you've got to be forensically and digitally aware. You've got to be very switched on. You've got to apply yourself. There's no paranoia, can be seen as a bad thing, but it can also stop you being complacent, right? It goes down like that. Anyway, so it transpired that these people that we thought were our friends had turned police informer. And there was an instance at this father and his son's house. I wasn't present, but Dominic was present, and certain allegations were made, which I'm not going to go into. It was well documented, right? Anyway, I was actually down at London at the time. I'd found my real dad after 27 years, found out I had brothers and sisters. So I was down in London with my brother and my sister that I'd reconnected with after 27 years, didn't know they existed. And that was that. And then it split the team down the middle. Now you had this father and his sons on one side of the fence with other people. I was loyal to Dominic. I stayed on Dominic's side of the fence with the boys. And there was fractions, and there was like, because it was alleged by these police informers that Dominic had rang them and threatened them, which obviously, like I said, there was allegations made, so they was classed as witnesses or victim. One of them was a victim, an alleged witness in this thing. So they alleged that Dominic rang them and threatened them. Right now, Dominic was arrested, he was charged, and he was remanded into custody. Right. I was, in the eyes of the police, was one of Dominic's trusted guys, and I know that this family of people that turned police informer would serve me up next, right? Now, like I said, there was a lot of backstabbing, a lot of sniping on social media, fake accounts, like calls off unknown numbers, all that sort of shit, right, that goes down. Now, like I say, it was a very fractious time, and a lot of arguments had taken place, and like I said, people that you thought you could trust, you couldn't trust, and vice versa. Anyway, what ended up happening is Dominic was away. Me and the lads were running errands, and we was here, there, and everywhere, going to Congleton, coming back from Congleton, in the Manchester area, going on visits, sorting out protests, all the usual sort of things. Well, something happened where they started to attack me on social media. So I ended up ringing them up, right, and saying, what's the score and all this. But the thing is, because they was police informers, I knew they was under police protection. They had a CCTV camera on Talbot Road in Stretford, which was at the corner of the street what they lived on. When someone's under police protection, they have panic buttons, they have dictaphones, call recording apps on the phones, things like that. So I rang the father of these kids, and he was giving it the big and down the phone, right? Now, I would have gladly met up with this individual and had it one-on-one. But like I said, I've got Dominic in prison on a witness intimidation charge, right? I'm with the boys. I would have had it with his father. I would have gladly fought him. Nothing to do with the police, just me and him. But they was in the police's pocket, the police were in their pocket. So I was downloading call recording apps. So I was recording the conversations, right? They was trying to entrap me, and I knew that the allegations of threats and intimidation would be lobbied at my door at some point or another, because they didn't like me. I was told that they didn't like me, and they was two-faced. They was nice to my face, slagged me behind my back, right? So I've got my call recording app. We end up having a conversation. It ends up into an argument. Obviously, I'm recording my conversation. He's recording his. He lost self-control. I didn't. I burned, once I got that call recording with making threats and things like that, I put it onto CDs, and I put it amongst some of our people, because obviously if that ended up, if I ever use that in my defense, that recording of that phone call would up and fucking disappear like a fart in the wind, because the police are corrupt. We knew this. And obviously the fact that that Dominic was on remand, I knew that at some point or other I would end up being arrested, because that family didn't like me. Anyway, there was this social media hate campaign was lobbied against us, and particularly me and other people, and there was a lot being said. Now, like I said, we couldn't retaliate because the police were involved, and these people were under police protection massively, right? And they was making out to the police. They was scared. They was in fear for their safety. But I got him on a call recording, the father of the family, right, threatening me. Now, giving it the big and hard on a phone in person, I would have smashed him all over. But like I said, we couldn't go down that route. So anyway, so the next minute, I went to the police, right? This is where it, like, people might be like, hang on. So because these people were police informers, and they kept trying to contact the police, oh, Cody's saying this, Cody's saying that, right? Nothing illegal. I was well within the law, because I was very aware that they were trying to entrap me and record my conversations and everything. He was putting all this stuff on social media. I couldn't retaliate because or I couldn't argue back. I couldn't go after them because they'll just run to the police. Witness intimidation. I'd be arrested and potentially charged, right? Having not done anything wrong. So I knew that my back was very much against the wall. So my address was put online. Obviously, I don't live there anymore, but my old flat address was put online by these people. These people had strong Republican ties. They believed in the 32 county sovereign movement over in Ireland, which is a banned dissident thing about United Ireland. They had strong Republican ties, and they supported the IRA. And I'm going to go into that in a moment. I am obviously a former British soldier, so that's where it takes a sinister twist. Anyway, so I've gone to the police and I've said, look, I've got a call recording. There's a hate campaign. They're making out the victims, but yet they're issuing threats and intimidation. But then they're making out to you that Dominic and me and the boys have got this. They're intimidated and they're scared by us. I said, but that's contradicted by this online stuff, this call recording. And what I was trying to do, guys, in layman's terms, I was boxing clever, because the thing is, when someone's in the police's pocket, if you go for them, you're prone to be you're obviously liable for arrest. And there's call recording apps, dictaphones, there's police protection, panic buttons, call recording apps, dictaphones. Police were there outside their address. Cameras were there as well, which were static cameras, which were actually placed there for their safety, even though there was the one that was issuing threats. Anyway, so I had to go to the police station and say, look, I told the police over the phone, this is what's happening, because my brain was like, these people in the police's pocket, the only way I can really do this is record my conversations to the police, go into the police station, do a statement, and there's a paper trail then. So trying to even the odds, right? Because like I said, we couldn't deal with these people because they was under the police's protection, right? Really fucking heavily. So made the call to the police, recorded the conversation, told the copper on the phone, duty bound to tell you, I am recording this conversation. I said, these people, who I won't name, have issued threats. I've got a call recording. I've got an online, I've got pictures of messages and tweets and all this sort of stuff. And the police said, right, come in. So I went to the police station and the police were like, I knew that the police were going to ask for my mobile phone because they like to say that they need it from source, right? And evidence goes missing and things like that. And they put bugs on your phone and paranoid shit. And I was obviously actively involved in criminality. So I didn't take my phone. I went up and I felt dirty whilst I'm in this police station. This copper's talking to me and I kept I'm sat there and I was very rude and very abrupt because I didn't want to be there and I certainly didn't want to be putting statements in. Now, like I said, I would have never have gone to court and gone after these people and gone into to be cross-examined and everything like that but I just wanted a paper trail. I knew it wouldn't go that far. I was boxing clever, guys, because like I say, nothing that they could do. They're issuing threats, right? Acting scared to the police, putting statements in, they're in fear for their own life, their health, safety and well-being. But then they're issuing threats on the phone. And then there's online activity, which contradicted the fact that they were scared. So anyway, so I've gone to the cop shop and I'm doing this statement, right? And the copper nearly kicked me out of the office a few times. She said, look, you need to sit down and do this and stop talking. Stop being rude, or we're here to help you and all this. Now, they was like, do you want panic buttons and all this? I said, no. I said, but look, I said, they've got access to weapons. I said, they're making threats. I said, I'm a former soldier. They're putting my address at the time, just putting that online in an apparent bid for harm to come to me. And I told, what I was doing is like I said, I keep going back to it. I'm trying to get a paper trail because these people had electronic paper trails with the police, and they're called F-wins, which is an internal monologue for the police for obviously crime reference numbers. So I thought the only way I can box clever here is to put a statement in. So I put the statement in begrudgingly, didn't want to do it. And then what happened was I applied. I was then arrested, right? I was arrested by the police on I think it was the 5th of December. This crime family put an allegation in sorry, not this crime family, this family from Stretford put an allegation in that on the night of the 5th of December, 2000, I think it was 14, that they'd received 4 menacing calls, right? Threats, intimidation, drop the charges, all these sorts of things. Now, of these 4 calls, 1 was attributed to be made by me, right? Now, they said that through 4 of these calls, 3 of them were recorded. Remember, they've got dictaphones, call recording apps. 3 of these calls were recorded. Now, the 4th call, which was alleged to have been made by me, there was no call recording. The reason why, because that call never took place, because it was bollocks. So they say they received 4 calls. My call that I allegedly made was deemed to have been in an Irish accent for 20 seconds, right? And I've got this online investigation thing here, which I'm going to read out in a second. So I was arrested by the police. I was taken to a police station. In the space of 12 hours, I was arrested at 3:05 in the afternoon on a Saturday. They pulled me out of a cell about 1 a.m, interviewed me. I dropped a prepared statement denying the allegation. And then I said, I was at home on the night in question. I deny the allegation. And as a matter of courtesy, I will answer no comment to any further question. That was it. Null and void. Prepared statement, no comment. Right? The police were in police interview. The police were very persistent. Listen, Cody, you tell us who's made these calls. You will walk. We will get them. Kept coming back to it. Listen, if you made this call under threat or intimidation, tell us who's done it. We'll go after them. You can walk. In other words, what the layman's terms are saying is, turn police informer. You can go home, and we will get the people responsible. Now, being a criminal and having not spoken to the police ever in my life, I just no comment, right? By going no comment, I was then placed back in my cell. 2 hours later, an hour later, they popped my cell door and they said, you are being charged with witness intimidation, and you are not being given bail. You will be staying here till Monday to go in a prison van to court on a bail application. So fast forward, so I was kept in the police station Saturday, Sunday night, Monday morning. I was collected. I was taken to Trafford Magistrates Court because the allegation where these people live was Stretford, which comes under Trafford Metropolitan Borough. So I went to Trafford Magistrates. I was chilled. I was like, right, kept my mouth shut. I'm sat there with my solicitor. Before I ever went up to court, I sat there with my solicitor in the cells below, like the courts. And then my solicitor said, right, even if you get bail today, you are going to Strangeways tonight. He said, even if you get bail, the CPS are going to waive the bit of paper, which is an appeal, and you'll go to prison for 48 hours, and then you'll be back up on a JC or a judge in chambers, another bail application. So at that point, I was like, so hold on. So there's no evidence, right? The phone box where this phone call was allegedly made was forensically and DNA examined. There was no link found between me and the telephone box, which were where the call was allegedly made. There was no call recording. There was no CCTV, no nothing. And I'm going to prison that night. Now, like I said, when I was on that police interview, they wanted me to give up 3 other people. Now, like I said, man's not a grass. Kept my mouth shut, went to prison. So going to the dock, stand before the judge, like 3 of them on a bench in a magistrate's court, stood there. Oh man, yeah, standing there, yeah, Your Honour, blah blah blah, right. And they give me bail. CPS waived the piece of paper. I was going to prison. Went downstairs, sat in the cell, in my jeans and my fucking t-shirt that I'd been nicked in fucking 3 days before, 2 days before even. Yeah, Sunday, Monday, Monday, Saturday. Yeah, like a few days before. And that was it. I was in the cell, and she said, "Right, you're lucky." I said, "Why?" She went, "You're the last person taking the last place on the sweatbox, going to Strangeways. Everyone else is going to Armley and to Marshgate." I was like, right. So that was it. I was placed into the sweatbox. My whole world had come crashing down. I've been remanded into custody. End up in Strangeways. I was in Strangeways for a couple of months. Then Dominic landed at the jail, and I was on the twos on the induction wing, and someone told me that I heard from Dominic's sister that he was due in that night on because he was in court in the morning. He was up on a judge in chambers in the morning, or a bail application or something. He'd been shipped in anyway to appear. I looked through the gap in my door and I seen the back of Dom's head. I shouts, Dom. He shouts, who's that? I said, Cody, you're Cody. So that was it. So I was, so me and Dom, we never, obviously, when you're on remand, you don't trust your cellmate if you are in a double cell, because it's well known that they plant people, bugs and stuff in cells, paranoid mentality, but I trust it. So we would talk in the showers, me and Dominic in the showers. Yes, very funny, right? So we was in the showers, we talk about the case, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, fast forward, they eventually ended up in Forest Bank. And then eventually there was a change in circumstance. The charge went from witness intimidation to alleged witness intimidation. I was on a legal visit, and I said to my brief goes, well, we'd rather wait for a bigger crack in your case before we go in for another JC or a judge in chambers or a bail application. And I said, so hang on. So I lost the plot. I said, so if you was here in my shoes, first time in jail, and there was a change in the case and it allowed you to get a JC, what would you do? He said, I want a JC. I said, right, so shut the fuck up, get me a judge in chambers. He got me a judge in chambers, and no, that was in Strangeways. That must have got rejected anyway. So I ended up in Forest Bank, and there was another change of circumstance which allowed me to get another bail application. And madly and crazily, I got granted bail. I then passed these call recordings and stuff to my solicitor. Said, look, this undermines their case, right? Now, in this time, it was one of the sons of this fucking family, these police informing fucking muppets, right? Someone must have rang the police and said that they had weapons in their house right now. I don't know who could have made that call, but the armed police apparently raided their property, and it was in the police intelligence, right? Now, when it came out, I applied for what they call an application to dismiss, because the evidence against me, there was no evidence, right? It was a very, very, the charges, there was no evidence at all, because I didn't do it, right? And it was so vague and stuff like that, that we applied for what they call an application to dismiss. That was originally, like the judge initially, my solicitor said, look, this judge is a recorder. He only sits 6 weeks of the year. Obviously, I'm out on bail now, so I've got very stringent bail conditions, but I'm out on bail. And my solicitor said, look, this judge is a recorder. They only sit 6 weeks of the year, retired, sort of semi-retired, 99% retired. He will just send this for trial. And I said, how can that be? We've got call recordings from them, which undermines their allegation. There's paperwork to prove otherwise. And he's like, look, he said, it'll just go for trial. Anyway, it didn't. My barrister fought immensely, saying, look, these people were Irish Republicans. He's a former soldier. They put his address online. Rather than taking to the law into his own hands, he went to the police. Paperwork went missing and everything from the police's side, which showed that we was innocent, right? Paperwork went missing, a call recording, a copper said that he couldn't hear the call recording. And then I got a recorded conversation with another copper who said he heard it loud and clear, right? That went missing, guys. But I had backups and copies that we spread throughout the people that we was about, right? Anyway, so this judge, this bail, this application to dismiss, where you're trying to get the charges thrown out against you, right? The judge actually said, whoa, hold on. This is serious, this. Now, I got legal aid to get an online investigation about these tweets and these messages and stuff on Facebook to find, because obviously whenever you send a text or a tweet or a WhatsApp or a Facebook status or something, there's an electronic footprint. It comes back to an IP address, internet service providers and internet provider addresses and stuff, right? Whether that be mobile data, whether that be broadband, whether that be in a public library, it always comes back to a certain thing. You can trace it. It's an electronic footprint, as they call it. So we was waiting on this thing here. Now, the judge said, right, he said, I'm going to wait for this report to be done. Now, this report, I rang Donald McIntyre. right? My solicitor said that their computer guy couldn't do it because it was too in-depth and too extensive, and he couldn't do it, their computer guy. So I rang Donald McIntyre, the investigative journalist, very, very good guy. He put me in contact with this company, right? This company are extremely good at what they did. They cut their price, just so my legal aid would just cover it. They did an online investigation to find out who was behind this hate campaign about me, Dominic, and the people and the boys. Right? They got several of this family from Stretford. These police informers that we used to be friends with. They got several people arrested. Right? They got several people remanded. And just crazy stuff. So I'm going to read what was read out. So this investigation here is the actual paperwork which saw my case come to a conclusion. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to tell you why. So it says here. So this company, these do online investigations. Some of these people used to work for like government, MI5, MI6. They don't now, but they used to be involved with like very high tech guys. So it says here, preface, this report is for the legal counsel only because the report has some confidential material. It references a juvenile and references an alleged offence against the juvenile. That was to do with Dominic. Like I said, that case was later thrown out. It's come to our attention that Mr. Lachey has already put documentation relating to this juvenile on Twitter. Therefore, we suggest the report is for legal counsel only. The task was to identify the person or persons, these are the family that was this hate campaign, which undermined the CPS's allegation. And it's got one Twitter account with 1,269 tweets, another one with 77 tweets, another one with 763 tweets, another one with 308 tweets, and another one with 1,130 tweets. In total, we reviewed more than 3,000 tweets and engaged and lightly assessed the Twitter handles and profiles of 2,977 accounts connected with the above accounts to come to and make our considered conclusions. Facilities. These are facilities that they use to do the online investigation. So the following programs are used in the research. RAID, Real-Time Alert Investigation and Discovery. It's an open source and open media and investigative tool. TinEye is a reverse image search engine which allows users to link photographs and avatars across the web. Copyscape is a plagiarism content tool that checks for duplicate online pages and content across the web, including Twitter. An online address and people searching tool, and Swarm, an investigative online tool for the dark web. Right. The investigation was led by specialist cyber crimes investigator and former Scotland Yard computer crimes officer Andy. Right. In addition to our own investigation, we consulted with SF International investigation, a specialist analysis relating to the Irish Republican and gangland associations, to review the backgrounds of some of the tweets and examine any underlying threats or messages inherent with them. This allowed our investigators to highlight additional associations with the accounts which amplified the weight given to threats made from some of these accounts to Mr. Lachey. Mr. Langley, also known as Mr. Lachey. Right. I'm going to just read this out, guys. If I didn't do this, I could have got a long time in jail, let me tell you, with no evidence because I didn't do it. Conclusions. With the use of a number of restricted and commercial programs, as well as other online applications, that were able to use geolocation tracking, language analysis, and the plagiarism tools, we've been able to establish to a high degree of probability that the person behind this certain account and against another account are one and one of the same person. So in other words, both accounts come back to one person. We established that it is known that this person, his name in the Irish language, Gaelic, he resides at this certain address. This person claims to be an Irish speaker, having taught himself the language, which he uses liberally online as this certain Twitter account. The account is to all intensive purposes anonymous, but an investigator with online investigative support and an in-depth knowledge of this person and the background of the ongoing case in question will be able to link the accounts together, as we have done. It is likely that the police would have been aware of this connection very early on in their investigation. Right? The links between this person and this other account are thinly disguised and both come up as heavily connected on search engines and plagiarism tools against this certain thing, follows this account and follows this 32 county sovereign accounts, faithful dissident, this other one, and Brits out. And all Republican profiles linking strongly with this certain Twitter account. The certain Twitter account similarly follows the other two accounts and follow constituencies as both accounts are nearly identical. So in other words, in layman's terms, these two accounts were following the same lots of people because it was two people. It looked like two accounts, but it came back to one person. This certain account similarly follows the other account and the followers. Our analysis leaves us to no doubt that these accounts are twin accounts run by the same individual and that our links, connections and analysis connect the two to this certain person to a high degree of certainty. In addition, we can confirm that the above accounts, except from this one of the brothers' accounts, are connected to this certain family. We could not confirm with any confidence that this certain account belonged to this certain person as related to the family in question. The handle is not linked to the other accounts or any instances that we observed, including followers, retweets and follows, or showed any linkage on Raid, Tineye or Copyscape. The other brother's account that belongs to this certain person whose family reside at this certain address, is an anodyne account and does not connect with any of the extreme Republican sites that are followed. By these two accounts, this account makes no attempt to disguise the owner with its handle, and it comes back to one of the like I said, you've got the father and you've got his sons. We have not been able to link another account with the youngest son, but the avatar strongly links to the other accounts in the family and accords with its tradition of Irish republicanism with a Taki Allah insignia, which is well-known IRA protest shout. In English, it means our day will come. As he is a minor and the alleged victim in the case to do with Dominic, we are not convinced that much can be gained by further investigation of that account. In addition to our own investigation personnel, we consulted with SF International Investigations, a specialist firm with a detailed knowledge of Irish Republican and gangland associations, to review the background of some of the tweets and examine any underlying threats or messages inherent with them. His greatest concern was linking the hashtag of one of the Twitter handles against Mr. Lachey that included AFA or the Anti-Fascist Action. SF International Analysis Jerry Hamilton suggested that AFA, if this is indeed was the reference, was an aggressive anti-fascist group on the far left that was active in the Northwest in the 80s and 90s, which threatened and exercised a huge degree of violence towards those it considered on the far right of politics. It was associated with the Manchester United hooligan firm and was heavily infiltrated by Irish Republicans. Crucially, one of their members, who I won't name, boasted of being armed and threatening National Front activists with guns to prevent them from running for election. A certain person was accredited by his brother with the bombing in Manchester in 1996. It is accepted by many that this certain person was an IRA sleeper. The reference to AFA may seem innocuous to many, but it could easily be perceived to be very menacing indeed, particularly as the tweets in question include a photograph of Mr. Lachey in his British Army uniform. This certain account is an openly dissident IRA promotional account and that makes references in many cases to the 30 County Sovereigns Committee, an outlawed dissident IRA terror group. The AFA hashtag could alternatively refer to anti-fascist activists, a Scottish group, but considering the geography and the context, it is more likely to refer to this certain person's associated group. Now, that was the end of the investigation. Now, like I say, guys, that investigation, right, what ended up happening at the application to dismiss, the judge didn't dismiss my case straight away. He ordered the police to investigate the family that we used to knock around with that were police informers, right? The judge ordered the police to investigate these people, right? And obviously if the police start to arrest and question and investigate these police informers when they're trying to get Dominic Noonan sent down for a long time, obviously this family up in Stretford would retract their statements and Dominic would have walked. He walked anyway because he was free, but it goes down like that, guys. So because obviously the police can't investigate these police informers. So what ended up happening, I was at home, I get a phone call from my solicitor. Good news, Cody, go on. Just to let you know, I've just this minute received an email that I will forward to you from the Crown Prosecution Service, saying that now, in light of new evidence that's come to light, I'm just making it up, that we will offer no evidence against Cody, and we can arrange a court date so that the charges can be dismissed. The charge being witness intimidation. I was fuming. I wanted it to go to court and I wanted it to play out but obviously my solicitor said, look, that's never going to happen. It's the end of the case. I will give you a date. That court date ended up being the 16th of April. And I ended up, the charges, I went to court. I entered a plea of not guilty. The judge found me not guilty and I walked free from court. The charges were dropped. That put a big fucking hole in Dominic's case. Dominic was later, the charges were later dropped against Dominic, like I said, of witness intimidation. So this, by dropping a statement to the police, right, and by boxing clever, right, and by call recording, and this online investigation, which Donald McIntyre actually helped me concoct and put together. He just put me in contact with these people. These people said, look, we can't speak to you personally. We will go through your solicitor because it's got to be legal and above board. They did that. This undermined the prosecution's allegation. There was also something in the application to dismiss which said that it was highlighted that this family up in Stretford had access to firearms or weapons or something, and they said there was some police intelligence regarding this in the unused material, right? So at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you, I didn't want to go to the police. I had to go to the police, and by going to the police, it actually blew this case wide open. This paper trail, this document, saw the charges against me dropped. Otherwise, I was facing going to court as Dominic's co-defendant on a witness intimidation, and I think it carries, I think it's a maximum of 10 years. For every charge in the UK, there's a minimum and there's a maximum, depending on aggravating and mitigating circumstances. Dominic always said to me very early on when I started knocking around with him, if you are ever in the dock with me, you are guilty by association and they will throw the book at you. So I saved myself years in prison because, number one, I wasn't involved in these calls at all. Obviously, I was nothing to do with that. Like I said, no call recordings, no forensics, no DNA, no CCTV, because it didn't take place. I was actually at home on that night. This online investigation actually proved that it undermined the CPS's allegation of threats and intimidation, and this family were fearing for the safety. I would have loved to have been locked in a room with all these people one-on-one, right? And I would have taken them apart. But like I said, they were under police protection and everything. Now, the police use these people, and then once the case dropped, these people just be cast aside and forever known as police informers. Now, like I said, you might say to me, oh, well, you dropped a statement. But like I said, I boxed clever because I had to. I didn't want to go to the police. I would have rather... they didn't go to the police, this family of police informers. I certainly wouldn't have gone to the police in our lot, and we should have just had it with them, away from the police, and just gone to war. No allegations should have been alleged on either side. They played dirty. I played clever. I boxed extremely clever. I didn't rise to this online hate campaign. Like I say, it's all finished now. This was years and years and years ago. But I didn't reply. I didn't get involved. I was raging, but I did not take the law into my own hands at any point, because we couldn't afford to, because Dominic was number one on Greater Manchester Police's shit list, and that was that. But this family, when we was in prison, me and Dominic rang them, right, and was talking to them like they was mates, tried to saying, look, you're doing the wrong thing, drop the charges, blah, blah, blah. They said, listen, anyway, enough about our case. Dominic had another case of arson, blackmail and intimidation from Bradford, and they was recording the call. Dominic gave him chapter and verse, and then Dominic ended up getting slammed on that sentence. They became prosecution witnesses for the Bradford case because they had the call recordings, ended up becoming prosecution witnesses for the Bradford case on this, something to do with an ice cream van, nothing to do with me. Dominic was jailed for that, but in doing so, they sent down John, Anthony, Dom's sister, Dom's brother-in-law, just fucking horrendous scumbags, guys, that sent people to prison. Now, like I said, I never dropped a name. I was arrested. He was asking me who made these calls, who made these calls, who made these calls. I produced my paperwork, no comment statements, but I was like, listen, I ain't going down like this. And if I didn't box clever, knowing what was going to come, I had to think several steps ahead like a game of chess. And in doing so, saved myself many years in prison on a bullshit charge, which the police would have gladly facilitated. The police tried to facilitate a malicious prosecution by these police informers to get several people sent down. Scumbags, guys. Anyway, on that note, guys, let me know what you think about this video in the comments. It's the longest video I've ever done. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Was I a grass? Did I box clever? Like I say, it's a subjective matter. I'd never dropped it. I've never, ever in my life until I went to the police on that one charge, only because they was in the police's pocket, and I thought the only way that's counter the police is with a paper trail. Like police reference numbers, and they can't be, well, they could be wiped, but I had call recordings with the officers I spoke to. I'd send emails, and I'd have electronic communications, electronic footprints. I had to think clever. By boxing clever, I saved myself several years in prison. Like I said, just to do with this crime, to do with this family in Stretford who went police informer because he didn't want to go to prison on a load of stolen caravans. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Got no time for police informers, guys. Like I said, I would have never have gone to court because I knew by what I was doing was going to be a whitewash, and that eventually there would be a break in my case, because I knew I was free when I was putting my thing in. I was just boxing clever because I thought we need to, if we just go after him, right, we're all gonna end up getting locked up. So let's not take the law into our own hands. Just box clever. I boxed clever. Everyone else knew what I was doing. I had call recordings. I put them onto a disc, spread them about people so they didn't go missing left, right, and centre. The police were saying, "Oh, we can't hear what's being said," because it was damaging to their case. I boxed clever. The charges were dropped, and I eventually got out of prison. Was on bail, and then, like I said, I applied for an application to dismiss. It was accepted eventually. Well, it was, and then they said, "Oh, we're not offering any evidence." They was offering no evidence because the thing is, the reason that they dropped the charges was a thing called voice recognition. I was remanded. Voice recognition is where somebody says, "I recognise his voice over the phone, in person, or whatever." He threatened me. I recognise his voice through a fake Irish accent, guys. Remember that. I ended up in prison for an alleged 20-second phone call, which I never made. And the three other calls that were remade, weren't nothing to do with me, but they was recorded, but my one wasn't. Make your own decisions. Leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Cody out.